All right, guys, so we're gonna go back and put the trailer back in the shed because I don't want to get it muddy, and where pull out storage there's some water and stuff, and man, this thing is beautiful. It's super clean and it's super fun. And I think I'll do a video on how to buy a camper, because we bought actually a Class A last year, and on the way back to California found the wife gets seasick in it. So we thought that would be fun, and so we ended up selling that, and then we went back to this because at the time I didn't have a truck. So but nonetheless, I'm gonna take it back. We're gonna reset the fuel economy. We're gonna go back up and down those hills. We're gonna see if just driving it. Now again, people are like, well, I want to put it through a torture test. Do you really treat your brand new $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 truck that you worked your tail off for? Do you really treat stuff like that? Well, then I would expect no matter what brand, what motor, what anything, you can expect to have more issues with that. Again, it's kind of like a love-care relationship. When you have all of this money sitting here, why wouldn't you make sure you take really good care of it? So I just think that a lot of my watchers, I think you guys are probably ones that are like, yeah, I'd like to see if this thing can work. Well, work's gonna be kind of an objective thing. It's gonna be over time. How does this motor perform over time doing these things? Not, hey man, I'm gonna floor it and go to 70 miles an hour and try and heat the transmission and do all of that stuff up. Yes, that will do it. But if you keep all the things in check, if you want to tow with the Godzilla at 100 mile an hour with this fifth wheel, you are heading down the right road for total destruction. Whether it be your tires heat up and blow, whether you heat your transmission up and jack it up. I mean, there are limitations to everything. There's limitations to the human body, and there's limitations to mechanical things. But I think if you're just using this as towing, I'm super happy with how this is done so far. But you know, again, people have said that this motor can't do it. It's junk. The transmission's horrible. I don't get that impression. So let's go see if we have any lifter failure, if we have anything like that. Let's roll. All right, guys, so on that 20-mile jog, we got 7 miles to the gallon. Again, that was not flat. Most of that was hills and going up and down and trying to keep the speed limit on one hill at 55 where the motor didn't really work all that hard, and then the other one was at 65 where it did work a little bit harder, but it really wasn't bad. So this time I'm gonna keep it at 55 because, you know what, to be honest with you, I don't get home all that often, and I love to see the country. That's what all the part of this is. You know, when we went on road trips as a kid, is seeing it. Remember when speed limits were 55 and that was it on the interstate? Man, that was a long trip, but man, it was good. And we didn't have all the tech and stuff. So again, we're gonna get up to 65. I'm gonna keep it 55. But this thing will move right up to 65. And there's plenty of guys out there that have really great videos that have shown people that this motor will move. But I think if you're just trying to get to 65, it does it about as good, as quick as a diesel would. Diesel might yank it quicker, but what's the point? You're just talking shaving a second off. This has no problems getting this fifth wheel up to speed and doing exactly what I expected to do, which was pull. Very little effort, 2,000 RPMs, big whoop-de-doo. I'm gonna set this, I reset the fuel economy. Let's see what we get going back on the 20-mile jog. Now again, I didn't need to limit the gears. So if you wanted to, you can come over here to this toggle and you can actually make some of these gears disappear. See those? Drop it down to only 9 gears. I'm gonna leave it at 10 because this thing did excellent when it came to engine braking down those steep grades. So for the most part, I don't see any issues with anything like that. I don't feel any sway. It is pretty calm out here today, so when you get in super windy situations, you can't expect every truck to handle like a dream. It's going to have that, but that's where the point is slowing down and seeing how the truck handles. Then once you get comfortable with the truck and your trailer and everything like that, that's when you can be like, okay, I feel comfortable going 65, speed limit 65, go 65. If you're bogging down the highway, speed up a little bit or slow down a little bit when you get to these passing areas. Let people pass you. But we're going to go into these first few curves and I'm going to see what the fuel economy looks like. Again, we all know that if you lower your speeds and put the engine under less strain, you're going to get better fuel economy. So if people are like, well, I want better fuel economy, I get 13 with the diesel. I don't know. I've experienced that in very few newer diesels. My first gen Duramax did really well towing. Got actually I think like 17. My Cummins, my old 12 valve, man, that was the real deal. It got really good fuel economy, but it had a manual. So yeah, so we're gonna take a nice drive back, and I'm just gonna zoom in and we're gonna talk about stuff as we go, because again, this is what a lot of people were asking me, but how's it tow? Well, here it is. Again, we do have to go over mountain passes as we tow, and we have to go over long hills and grades. But you know, if I was up in Denver, we typically like to go up to Leadville, so that would be up over the Gauntlet. It'd be up over a couple other passes, and yeah, this motor's gonna work. But I think if I set it at 55, it's gonna do what it needs to do, and it does it with very little effort. So, you know, here we go. We're coming into one of those steep hills, and we're gonna see. Oh, I got it at 57. Let's get it down to 55. Where I was going, Speed Demon. All right. I just want to see, because like I said, there are some transmissions where, like I said, my 21 Custom with the Duramax, I was everything I could do to get into the brakes to slow that beast down, whether I was using cruise control or not, and I'd have to go down to manual mode or low mode to limit the gears, but it did not show me what gear. So if you pulled it down and it said it was an L7, you didn't know if it's 7 or first. It was just between those gears. This one, you can see how it turns orange and tells you what gear you're in. So I think acceptably, you know, 5 miles per hour over the speed limit, or sorry, over my cruise control setting is okay. But again, I'm using this so we can show you the cruise control grade braking, because what it does is, if you were just driving it normally and you let off, it's going to coast. Don't get me wrong, it's going to coast, and then you're going to have to use your brakes more, and it's going to be a real uncomfortable feeling for a lot of people to use cruise control while they're towing, and that's okay. And that's where you might want to, you know, limit your gears and stuff like that. I don't have any problem with that. I'm a truck driver now, so or I've been there for quite a while, and I set the cruise control all the time, set my exhaust brake on and do it. But I know a lot of people are apprehensive when it comes to the gas market as to, I don't know if this gas motor can slow itself down, I'm gonna burn up my brakes, burn up my trailer brakes. But it did really well, and I expected it to do really well. So that's not a surprise to me. But I think a lot of people are leery of it, and I was leery too until I started driving the V10 at work, and that 6-speed it had in it did really good. So, you know, I'm not surprised by that. So let's see how she goes down here. So we're rounding out another curve, and we're gonna head down into this valley. And I think that these hills, if I remember right, they're about a 7%er. All right, so now we're heading down. So let's see how she does this time. Holding at 50, about 57 and a half, 58. See right there, gear down on its own, and it geared again, down to 5th, now to 4th, down to 3rd. And again, I'm not limiting it, I'm not touching the brakes. This is the truck working in harmony with the transmission. Now we're back out of it, and it didn't get over 60. So I'm plenty comfortable with that. And again, I have the brakes if need be. If I was to tap the brakes, it's gonna grab a gear and gear down even more. But again, like I said, at this speed, I'm not worried about it. Now, if you were cruising at 75 and a 65 and you want to speed, then you can expect you're gonna have to have a lot more input when it comes to slowing it down. You have more mass, you have more speed, that means you have more momentum. So that's good. So now we're gonna cruise up this hill, and we'll see how it does at 55, where it really works. And like I said, I mean, after paying for enough tanks of diesel and gas, I think a lot of people are like, you know, I think I could drop 5 miles to the hour and see how it goes and how improves my fuel economy and wear and tear on your vehicle. I have no doubt I could pull this hill at 80 in this truck. And if I had that much momentum coming down the hill, obviously it would carry me up the hill a little bit too. But right now she's just purring up the road, nice and quiet. Let's go back up here a little bit. You can see more of the Great Plains here. Hasn't geared down yet. It's in 8th gear, which is an overdrive. Tranny temp's good. Oil pressure good. Engine temp good. Alright, so now we're coming up to here, so you can kind of see we have a little dip, and then we kind of just have a straight pull. And then it kind of goes up, and then we're going to go down another hill and then up another one. Then we'll kind of be back into the flat before I get back to storage. Now we'll do a final thought on this. You know, I'm not surprised how well this truck is doing. Okay, I am. A little bit. I guess that's kind of a twofold way of explaining it. I'm not surprised because I wanted it to do good and I expected it to do good. But there was some apprehension in the back of my mind, like, well, maybe these guys are kind of right. Maybe this is a turd, you know, and I'm just enamored with it, and, you know, everything's just horrible, but, you know, I don't know. I guess so. I'm surprised, not surprised, definitely happy, and not at all disappointed. So we went down to about 52, and at 55, climbing this 7, it was up to about 3 and 4. And again, with all those gears, it's able to stay in that shift point, so it can get out of that higher RPM much quicker, get it back down, but then if it needs to go back up, it can come right back up. The less gears, the more time it's going to spend shifting between those 3, and obviously the less gears too, it's going to have even higher RPMs. So I would say my old 454 worked, you know, harder than this, and then my V10 Ram from a long time ago, that thing was a beast. It worked kind of like this, but you can tell that this V8 has more power. So then again, we're keeping it 55. And only, what, 1700 RPM? Ooh, his brakes are smoking. I'm not sure why. I would definitely recommend the Timbrens. I mean, if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to spend a lot of money, but you're just looking for a little bit of extra, like, sway control, I would recommend them. I've always had good luck with them, and this is no difference. I mean, each vehicle's going to handle a little bit different, so you always expect something, and then you get the result, obviously, from the real life data you're getting. And with this trailer hooked to it, it does have a lot of heavy tongue weight, pin weight, and the Timbrens, definitely, I can feel it. They're back there helping out like a sway bar. All right, here we go. Last big downhill. We're gonna go around some curves. All right, so let's see how she does again. Set at 55. Okay, she's geared down. Didn't get to 60. Geared down again. Again, this grade braking with the cruise control is against the normal thought. Most people are like, oh no, I need to be in control of this, but realistically, coming out of the Ike Gauntlet, I think it's a 45 going up and a 45 coming down for big things. So, you know, I literally drive it every day, and the speed limits are not 60 and 70, so there's no reason to work your truck that hard. But yeah, so we didn't even hit 60. It went down to 5th gear, so we're golden there. All right, now we're gonna climb. But I mean, at the end of the day, when people are thinking, well, what if it doesn't go up the hill? It's okay. You're okay. Big, huge semis with 1,200 pounds of torque and 600 horsepower, they're not going up those hills any faster loaded. It's the way it is. Elevation's thinner. It's hard for anything to get air up there, and even with a turbo, it doesn't make you much faster. So we're at 55 still, and we're right in that sweet spot of 2K RPMs. Training temp's good. Oil pressure's good. Oil temperature's good. Water good, so we're good there. And I just love the ride of this. It helps that there's more weight in it now because it's less bouncy, but the overall ride and control of the truck feels really good. This has a speed compensated steering system, so I mean, the faster you go, the heavier it gets, so you can't just jerk the wheel. But I mean, the overall ride and the sound in this truck is just, it's really good. I'm really tickled. All right, guys, so that one was a little bit longer. I wanted to just give you guys another vibe for this coming back. So we're not back to where I store the trailer, but I'm gonna do one more final thought video in there. And as we do more traveling this summer with it, longer stints, more miles on it, obviously I'm gonna do a lot of more videos. We got a lot of content coming on this. But as for the first little chunk out, very pleased with this. I'm going to do a final thoughts video, but you can see right there in 12-mile jaunt, got about 9.3, so the gauntlet is, 11 miles up. So basically we went up and down some valleys and stuff, 9.3 miles to the gallon on this return trip. I don't think that that's bad for what we're doing here, but this was a video showing you guys how the transmission worked. I'm still in cruise right now, how it does with all of that stuff, and talk about overall feel. So I'm gonna see you here on the next one where we talk about our final thoughts.